Well, I think Billy's spoken about the reasons as to why Dave Fafita's not in the side. Like he had some standards about him last year that Billy doesn't quite think he feels he's reached this year. And I think a lot of the things that stand out with Dave Fafita's game is obviously those barnstorming runs and some of the tackle breaks and all this sort of stuff. But when you're a coach of the Queensland Origin side, you look a little bit past that. Well, I shouldn't say a little bit. You look much further past all those good runs and the things that make the highlight reel. It's a lot of the stuff that happens away from the ball. So obviously Billy feels as though Kirk Capewell is a much better option to play in that back row role. A guy that I think he can definitely rely that he'll make those plays away from the football that he needs him to do, particularly at that level at Origin. Like a lot of these games, and you look at some of the close games that Queensland have played over the last 2 and a bit seasons. They've won it off the back of those small plays, those plays that not many people see, not the highlight reel plays. It's the small stuff. So I'm guessing that's the reason why Billy's opted for Capewell instead of Fafita.
Couple of force changes, but yeah, I think it looks like the selectors have stayed loyal and true to the team and giving them, a chance to redeem that match too.
Yeah, I think so, Heels. As you said, a couple of force changes. Xavier Coates injured, Tal Lungi injured as well, so both wingers out. Really happy for Dane Gagai to get the opportunity to come back in and play State of Origin again. He's been a wonderful servant for the Queensland Maroons, and he's playing some great football for Newcastle Knights at the moment too. The one thing about him is that he's rock solid defensively. So, whoever he's matched up on, I think he's going to do a great job. I'm assuming he's going to be matched up against Bradman Best. So, a handful, very different, a slightly different player to Latrell Mitchell. He's got different strengths about his game, but at the same time, a very big body and a very strong ball carrier. So, I think Gags will be out to play well, and as they all will be, because I think they'll be slightly, sort of embarrassed with that performance in Melbourne, particularly given the scoreline at halftime, 34-0, like that was just incredible. So they'll want to bounce back, particularly well at home.
All right, the other big talking point, somehow he's managed to fit Walsh and Ponga in the same 17.
Well, I think, if you look at his game one lineup with the outside back on the bench, I think that's where he's gone back to again, with Ponga being there. And you got to remember, Ponga made his debut off the bench and played in the middle and was unbelievable in his first match. In fact, if you think back to Game 3 of 2022, the decider in Brisbane, Kalen Ponga was the best player on the field. And he was a big difference between, the result between the two footy sides and the effort that he put in that night. So, look, he's one game back from a fairly lengthy layoff. Like, I think he had 12 months in total. 12 weeks in total, not 12 months, with that Liz Frank injury. But the return the other night, like, he had some unbelievable touches. I know he came up with a couple of errors, but, he was attacking the Raiders try line. But, some of the work that he did in the backfield coming out of his own end, like, he's a type of player, right, that when he gets the ball in his hands, you are on eggshells as a defender.
Yeah, sure.
He puts fear into you. So, I think he's a great person to have there on the bench. I think he was umming and ahhing about whether he went with another ruck forward, given he's already got a utility on the bench, in either a Harry Grant or a Ben Hunt. But he's obviously gone for Ponga to go for that sort of X-factor game breaker type of player.
All right, well, let me play devil's advocate, and theoreticals are not really the way to go with questioning, but what happens if we lose a forward early?
Well, we got in that lineup, right? He's got a lot of versatility. So, Capewell you can throw Capewell in the middle. Also plays back row. Same with Kafusi. So he plays. He's going to be playing back row, but he's been playing middle for the last month for the Dolphins. So he's got some wriggle room around the middle there, and also Ben Hunt. So if Ben Hunt has to play in the middle as an extra, forward, a lot like Connor Watson did in Game 2 for the Blues, he's got that option as well. So if we lose a couple of big men, that's when we're in strife.
Yeah.
So if we lose a couple of the bigger bodies, say like a Lindsay Collins or a Pat Carrigan, something like that, that's when we're in a little bit of trouble and we're going to be lacking a bit of size. But, I think, over the past 3 years, where the Maroons have had some injury issues has been the outside backs. It's 6 out of 8 games now, Paddy, where they've lost an outside back. So I think Billy's just gone with the numbers in this one.
And we've got Big Mo. Does he hold up the middle?
Yeah, no, I think, Billy really loves the way Mo Fodawaker plays. He's got high energy and plays with great impact with the footy side. So I don't think, there's no sort of doubt around the forward pack and whether they can stand up against this Blues forward pack. They certainly were outplayed in game 2. So they need to make some big changes. And I'm pretty sure, they've been in camp now for, a day and a bit.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's all been addressed already. I'm sure, Billy would have addressed, the performance in Melbourne for game 2 and the things that, they didn't get right and things that need to be improved on, and particularly with their preparation. I'm sure that he'll have them focused and narrow down. He's already made some changes with their preparation. Like yesterday's open press conference, it was limited to 2 players. So you can see that he's and
they weren't forwards.
No, that's right. So you can see that, he's really, trying to narrow their focus for this one and really getting them to knuckle down because it's a huge game.
Hey, just quickly, are you getting any intel out of the Storm? So this one from Darryl for the Goats' thoughts. Harry Grant hasn't played since Origin 2 due to the sternum injury. Is there a doubt over his chances of playing in Game 3? Reid Marnie's in the squad. If so, if there is a doubt, should Billy make the early call and get rid of the uncertainty and replace Harry with Reid?
Well, if there is doubt, I think Billy will make a call on his inclusion in the footy side. There's no doubt about that, and I think he'll make it sooner rather than later. But I think Billy came out and said that he's healthy. He looks pretty good. So, he's had some time away. I think he is carrying a sternum injury at the moment. Which there'd be a lot of players with bumps and bruises throughout the entire competition at this time of year. But he's had the 2 weeks off and he's well rested now, so he must be good to go. But if there is any doubt, I don't think Billy will take him all the way through right up to game day and then make a change.
Yeah,
I think he would have sat down with Harry and spoken with him and said, look, where are you at? If there's any doubt, I'm sure he will make Harry do some sort of fitness test over the next couple of days. And if he can't get through it, well, I'm sure, that's when he'll make a change.
But it sounds like you're happy, mate. Size, work rate, aggression levels, and the impact we can have attacking in their, defensive 20.
Yeah.
Seems like to me you counteract size by sharing possession.
Yeah, well, that's right. And that's where it all went wrong for Queensland in game 2, didn't it? Is that they had very little ball and very little field position in the first half, and that's as simple as it gets.
Yep.
In rugby league, if you don't have the ball and you don't have good field position, it's really hard to put any sort of pressure on the opposition. All the pressure was on Queensland, apart from say the first 6 or 8 minutes where it was sort of end-to-end football, and pretty even contest. Then when New South Wales started to get some ascendancy and started to dominate, field position. That's it. We couldn't turn the momentum. Yeah. So that's something that they're going to have to talk about, this week in this preparation to this game is if they do get in that situation again, how do they change? How do they change the momentum? They can't just expect that it's going to turn for them. They got to find ways to adapt and change that. But if we do get our fair share of ball, and we get some quality field position, we've got more than enough strike in that footy side to cause some issues for the Blues.
What's his way, Cam? You know him better than most. I mean, will he come in and rant and rave in the first couple of days and say, look, I know New South Wales, and one of our listeners have said, we know it was virtually the perfect first 40 for New South Wales. They had all the pill. That won't happen again. But will Billy come in and single guys out and say, why did this happen? Or will he just address them calmly and say, hey, we weren't anywhere near good enough. We leaked 34 points in the first half of an Origin game.
I reckon he'll be somewhere in between. I don't think he'll sort of individually square anyone up, particularly in front of the group. If there's particular things he needs to talk about with any individual, he'll speak with them one-on-one.
Yeah.
But as far as the group is concerned, I got no doubt that if there's things that Billy was unhappy with and he feels that needs to be addressed with the group, like he'll make sure that they're well known. And that's what I was saying. I'm sure, they come into camp yesterday, I'm sure they would have sat down already and spoken about those things that weren't so good in game 2, but more importantly, in their preparation. So the things that they feel that need to change and they need to do much better to have themselves ready to go next Wednesday night, that's what would have been spoken about.
Mm. How can it happen? How does that happen that you can be so surprised by your opponent?
Yeah, well, I don't. You know what, Heels? I don't think they were surprised by it. Just when you're watching it unfold, right, and having experienced, being a part of State of Origin, it just one team needed to win, and one team wanted to win. All right, so Queensland, they turned up and they wanted to win that match. Everyone wants to win, right? But New South Wales had the mindset that they needed to win, and that was the difference. That's all it was. Yep. It's that small 1 or 2% difference in their mental preparation, and then applying that into the actions that they do on the field. That's the small difference, particularly at that level. You're off 1 or 2%, and that type of result can happen.
Timed in. Hey guys, what about Madge saying Queensland not mixing? Old Madge took New South Wales away for 90% of the time to the Blue Mountains. He's a forgetful old goose, isn't he? We're here for Kubota. Take on any job with Kubota's range of tractors, mowers and utility vehicles. We best get to a little bit of club stuff, mate. Now, an important game because of the Dolphins are coming up against the resurgent Bunnies. I know Latrell's not there. I know Cam Murray's not there. Dolphins have obviously lose Felice and they lose the Hammer. Yep. And Jeremy Marshall-King as well with his injury. But, mate, they've lost a few now and they just need to get back on the horse, don't they?
Yeah, they do. We don't want to see a repeat of last year where they just sort of went down the slippery side in the second half of the year because they've done so well. They've done so well this year thus far to put themselves in a great position to play finals footy. So this is the big one for them. Playing at home, of course, up there at Redcliffe. So no Cam Murray, no Latrell. It's going to make things a little bit harder for the Rabbits. Look, I'm going to tip the Dolphins. Okay. I'm going to tip the Dolphins, even though they've got a few out. I'd like to think that they'll turn things around and win this one.
Now, massive news with the Sharks. The television cameras caught Nico Hines on crutches after an incident at training. So it doesn't look like he's any chance of playing Friday night against the Tigers.
Well, Pat, I think there's reports that he could be out for 6 to 8 weeks.
Jeez.
So that's massive for the Sharkies, who are another team that are struggling at the moment as well. Still sitting in the top 4, though. So they're in a pretty good position, but... look, I think they'll be much too strong for West Tigers. Although the West Tigers were able to score 28 points against Melbourne Storm on the weekend. So, there was a lot to like about – there were some things to like about their performance, but also, too, there was periods of the game where they just went away from their game plan and, just made things a little bit too easy for Melbourne. But, geez. I'm going to tip an upset. I'm going to go West Tigers. Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to go Tigers.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, I wish I didn't talk to you. Now, the Eels, they've got their coach appointed. How will Jason Rolls go, in your opinion? And they're playing against the Titans.
Yeah, look, I think it's a great appointment for Jason Rolls to get that head coaching role. He's been doing an apprenticeship now for quite some time. And I tell you what, it's a fair apprenticeship too. Working alongside people like Craig Bellamy, Trent Robertson, Storm and Roosters, 2 quality organisations, 2 quality coaches, and also too with the English rugby program with Eddie Jones. He was over there for several years as well. Right, so he's done some work with some elite sporting organisations. So he's learned a lot. So I think it's a great appointment. He's been waiting, been waiting patiently for this opportunity, and I think it's the right thing. It's a big gig, isn't it? It's a huge gig. Head coach of Parramatta Eels. They're a massive club, so going to be plenty of expectation when he arrives there. But I think he's the right man for the job. Do I think they beat the Titans this week? No, I don't. I think the Titans win it. I think.
Yeah, well, they've got AJ. Well, we think they get AJ back. They get Jaden Campbell back. They probably get Sami back. They're saying Campbell goes to 6, AJ to fullback, and Keeney on the bench.
Yep. No, it's a strong outfit, and you can just see like the work that Desi's done with them this year. They're just starting to turn the corner a bit. Hey, so I think they'll be too strong for Eels. No Mitch Moses, of course. So Titans for me.
Right, not quite now or never for the Bronx, but it's getting towards that. I know they're favourites over the Dragons. You know, you lose Carrigan, Haas, Cobbo, Walsh. They're 4 big outs and they haven't got a halfback. I mean, in comes Josh Rogers, who, as good as Heald said, Burley Bears boy, loves him and all that sort of thing. But
so you're saying they're not playing them again?
No, they're not
they
in
can't
this
play
weekend.
this
They can't.
this weekend.
They're doing camp now.
Sorry.
No, they're playing this weekend. See, so they're
Concentrate. Come on.
Tristan Saylor for Walsh at 1. To be fair, they get Jordan Ricky back from suspension and Katoni Staggs, who took personal leave last week. So there's a couple of ends, and the Dragons lose Lomax and Hunt.
Yeah, I think with those two guys out, I think it's going to be a little bit too hard for the Dragons. They'll put up a big fight, and there'll be decent support there at Suncorp. They always get plenty of fans getting out there, the Dragons. But I'd like to think that the Broncos, even with those players out, they can get this one done. They have to. They really have to. Like if they lose this one, geez, they're going to be putting their whole season in jeopardy.
Mm. And then the Seagulls are up against the Knights, who lose both their centres, do they? Gago and Bradman Best.
Yeah. Yep, and also Ponga. Although it's he's only 1 game back, so it's not like he's been in there and sort of helping them get all those victories. But I think with the Knights, they're a good football side, but you take those 3 quality players out, it makes it much harder for them, particularly against the Seagulls side, who have got a lot of experienced players in that footy side. I think Manly too strong there.
Okay, all right. Braden's chimed in from Perth saying the Titans 13+, boys. He thinks they're certain.
Specials.
How do you think this week's going to unfold, mate, just quickly for the Origin? There's been a bit of sniping between the two camps, as we know. Madge, all of a sudden, is having a crack at Gordy and all that.
He's very chirpy now, Madge, isn't he?
Yeah.
Hey? Hardly heard from him game 1, well, in the lead up to game 1, and then he just thought, I might just fire a shot back at this footy side for game 2, and it worked for him. So I think he's just gone down that path again to try and unsettle everyone and get everyone sort of a bit kerfuffled.
As I said earlier in the show, from my experience, it for me it's classic Bennett.
Yeah.
I mean, he stays away from the media as often as he can, but all of a sudden when his team's under pressure...
Yeah, fire a shot away.
And he's saying, well, no one here is sitting here... Well, we haven't spent a minute dissecting the New South Wales play, have we, really?
No, we haven't. No.
All we've done is talk about the coach.
Yeah, no, that's right. So I think... I think Billy and the rest of the team would have learned from that game 2 build-up where there was a bit of talk going on between the two camps. I think, as I said, I think that's a sign yesterday what Billy did where he just went, no, 2 players only. You won't be speaking to the whole squad. I think they're taking a bit of a siege mentality into this one and they're going to be ready to go.
Good stuff. All right. Okay.
Awesome.
How are the Currumbin Eagles back in action this week?
We're back on. Yeah. No, we're back on. We've had a 2-week layoff with the school holidays, so I gave the boys a couple of weeks off just to freshen up a little bit and don't know what they've been up to. So we couldn't train yesterday because of the rain. So it's they'll probably really happy. another session off, but no, we're back at it. So 5 games to go. 5 games to go. So